What's up everyone? Welcome to the first video in Out Past Curfew's how-to series. In this series, I want to go over everything that I can to help you become a paranormal investigator yourself. This video is aimed towards the people who are sitting at home watching YouTube videos of paranormal investigators, watching the major TV shows, things like that, who are thinking to themselves, man, I wish that I could be a paranormal investigator too. Because that's where I was, that's how I started, and I want to help you get to where you want to be faster. So in this first video, I want to cover some of the basics. In later videos, we're going to go over equipment, we're going to go over how to use certain pieces of equipment, and we're going to go over some of the different methods of collecting evidence. But first, let's get started with the very basics. For those of you who know very little about paranormal investigations or nothing at all and you're just curious, this is for you. So first we're going to start with the different types of hauntings. So first you have residual hauntings. Residual hauntings are where a person's energy has been imprinted on a location. So for an example, an investigation that we did a couple months ago, we were at a old fort, a military fort that was from like the Revolutionary War, and they had a blacksmith shop there. So there's been a lot of reports of people who, all these years later, they can still hear the hammer banging on the anvil in the blacksmith shop. Now the reason why that is because that blacksmith spent hours and hours of his life standing there in that shop, banging on that anvil, making horseshoes, making weapons. He was making everything that they had there that was made out of metal. His energy from standing there banging on that anvil for so long has just imprinted on that shop. And that's why you can still hear that today, because it's just residual energy. The next type of haunting would be an intelligent haunting. The intelligent haunting is the type of haunting where you put down an EVP recorder and you ask a question and you get an intelligent response, such as, what is your name? And you get a name. Or another example would be, can you grab the antenna of the REM pod and make it light up and make noise? And then that happens. That would be an intelligent haunting. Another type of haunting that you probably see a lot as far as horror movies go, and on certain YouTube channels and on TV, where they like to play this up. And the only reason why they play this up is because it makes for good television, and it keeps, myself included, but it keeps us hooked and keeps us watching because we want to see what happens next, because it's got us on the edge of our seat. And that would be demonic hauntings. And demonic hauntings are the ones where, you have the spirit that's pretending to be a child in need and stuff like that, to tug at your heartstrings, but they're negative energies. And they're the ones where, people get scratched or pushed or things like that. And they are rare to come across. So they definitely don't pop up as much as Hollywood and things like that make it seem. But they are out there, so just be mindful of it. The next thing that I want to cover in this video for you guys is locations. Where do you start with locations? How do you find somewhere to go investigate? Google's your best friend with this. So what you want to do is you want to open Google and you want to search for paranormal investigations near me, or public paranormal investigations near me. And that should return a list of places, websites of, locations that offer for you for a small fee to come there and investigate. A lot of these places, they offer private and they offer public investigations. And the difference between the two is exactly what it sounds like. The private investigations it's just you, it's your group. They typically charge for at least 10 people regardless of how many people are there. And then they charge more if you have over 10 people. These tend to get a little pricey But the benefit of it is it's just you, it's just your group, and you have the place rented for yourselves for the night. The public investigations are open to the public where, everybody pays, some of them are as cheap as $40, some of them are as expensive as almost $200 a person for the night. It all just depends on the location. And I'm going to put some links in the description below of places that I know of that have public and private investigations to help you get started with finding places. But the public investigations are a great place to start because for a small fee you can go, and if you want to, you don't even have to actively investigate. You can walk around, you can observe, and you can watch other people investigate, and you can learn. And it's a great experience just being there. Those ones happen much more frequently, the public investigations, whereas the private ones tend to book out months in advance, and you have to call and you have to book it, and you have to do so far in advance to be able to get a date that you want, where the public ones are, they usually have a calendar, and a lot of places do them every weekend throughout the warmer months. Some of them do them, once a month or so, but they have a calendar, and a lot of places you can book right online, and you get your ticket, and then you just show up, and, you're good to go. As far as the locations go, definitely don't go out there and trespass into old buildings and things like that. I know it may be tempting. You see a place that's run down, abandoned, you think, well, nobody's going to know if I sneak in. That might be the case. Nobody knows that you snuck in, but also keep in mind, nobody knows that you're there. And in some of those buildings, they don't allow people in them because they're not structurally safe. So if you go into a building and nobody knows that you're in there, and you fall down and you get hurt, or something falls on you, or something like that happens, nobody's going to know to come and find you. So definitely don't trespass, don't break the law, look for locations online. Once you start going to some of the public and private events, it definitely opens up a lot more opportunities for you, and you'll find more and more locations from that. A lot of the websites also offer, if you've had a good time with us, check out these other locations that are nearby or within the state. The next thing that I want to cover for you guys is gear. So you might think that to get started as a paranormal investigator that you're going to have to invest a lot of money into gear. You see all of us on YouTube, you see on TV, we all have REM pods and K2 meters and the fancy music boxes and voice recorders, and there's just so much gear. But the truth is, to get started, you don't need to purchase any of that. Save your money. Save it for gas, to get to places to investigate. Save it to try out local restaurants and new places that you go and find while you're out investigating. Save your money. Don't buy any gear, at least not yet. The most important thing you have already to help you investigate is your senses. Your eyes, your ears, your nose. You can go to a place and you could sit in the dark and the quiet, and that place will tell you a story. You can hear things. You can see things with your own eyes. You don't need any gear to get started. But say you do want to record some audio, you want to do some EVPs, you want to get videos, you want to take pictures. We all already have, in this day and age, a smartphone in our pocket. This takes pretty good pictures and pretty good video. A lot of phones take much better video and pictures than cameras that you can buy in the stores, as well as voice recorder functions. And if your phone doesn't have a voice recorder function built in, there's apps you can download for that purpose. There's even also apps for paranormal investigation. Now, I will say that I am not a big believer in most of the paranormal investigation apps. There tends to be a lot of really gimmicky ones out there. But I will say that Spirit Talker, I've had some pretty good success with. This is the only paranormal investigation app that we use. Just this one. We don't use any other phone app. But you can use your camera. You can record video. You can do audio. You can do all that right on your phone. And that's something you already have in your pocket. And you'll save a ton of money right off the bat just by using what you already have. Another important thing to keep in mind, though, when you're using your phone out on a paranormal investigation, whether you're using it as a device to collect evidence or not, you definitely want to keep your phone on airplane mode. And the reason for that is, one, it's a little distracting when you're doing an investigation and people's phones are ringing or, making noise and stuff like that. And two, the transmission of the signals for phone calls and text messages interferes with some of the paranormal investigation gear. Like receiving a text message will make a K2 meter spike. So to prevent any false evidence, definitely keep your phone on airplane mode. And I know that's hard for some of us because we have families and things going on in our personal lives and things like that, where we need to be able to have people get a hold of us. And that's fine too. If you want to step outside or step away from the investigation for a little while and take your phone off airplane mode and make sure you didn't miss anything important, go ahead and do that. Nobody's going to give you a hard time about any of that. As far as gear goes, one thing that you should probably definitely have, and you most likely have this already, is some type of flashlight. You're spending the night in a location, it's going to be dark. And you want to be able to see, whether that's digging stuff out of your bag, watch where you're going, make sure you're not tripping or falling, stuff like that. And I highly recommend that you get a light that does the red light or green light or both. And that is because white light disturbs our dark vision. So we as humans naturally have the ability to see pretty well in the dark once our eyes have adjusted to the dark. Now, myself and a lot of us, although we have pretty good dark vision, we definitely need the help of some type of light source in certain situations. The benefit of the red and green light is that when you turn the red or green light on to use it to help you navigate or find what you're looking for, and then you shut it back off, is you don't have to wait for your eyes to readjust again like you do with a white light. Red and green lights are often used for nighttime operations, such as hunting or stargazing or things like that, for the purpose of it doesn't disturb your night vision. Also, it doesn't spook animals as easily. So if you're out in an outdoor location, you're investigating, say, some woods that are supposed to be haunted or something like that, your green or red light's not going to spook all the deer and make them go charging through the woods and scare everybody. Also, another great benefit of the green and red lights is they don't overexpose the cameras as easily as the white lights do. Like we have a night vision camera, and when you shine a white light around with the night vision camera on, it just right on the screen, it's so bright and it washes out the whole image. The green and red lights tend not to do that as much. Another thing that I want to touch on, which may sound silly that I even have to mention it, but make sure you dress appropriately for the temperature and the weather. Most of the places that you're going to end up investigating are old buildings. These buildings were built before heating and air conditioning were standard. And they don't have any type of climate control in them. In the summertime, it's hot, especially upper floors of places. We went to Penhurst in the summertime, and the upstairs of the Mayflower building was excruciating. We were dripping in sweat. It was so hot. And we did the West Virginia State Penitentiary in the wintertime, and it was the same temperature inside as it was outside. So just because it's an indoor location doesn't mean that you're going to be comfortable just because it's indoors. Keep in mind that it's going to be hot in the summer and it's going to be cold in there in the winter. And make sure you dress appropriately for that. And definitely, please, for your own safety, don't wear Crocs or flip-flops. Definitely wear some sturdy sneakers with good support, maybe even hiking boots or something like that. Because I've seen it. I've seen people show up to investigations wearing Crocs and flip-flops, and it's not good. I mean, there's debris, there's things you can trip on, and, stuff like that. So definitely just wear good solid footwear. And the next thing I want to touch on with the clothing and stuff is perfumes and colognes. So we touched on residual hauntings earlier. So another example of a residual haunting is I grew up in a house when I was little. We weren't there for very long, but in this home, the woman who lived there and her husband, they were both just so imprinted on this property, and they had both passed away. Well, there was times where you would walk through that house and you would get whiff of that woman's perfume. Or when you went down in the basement, you would get whiffs of pipe smoke. And the husband was down in that basement. That was his workshop, and he spent so much time down there smoking a pipe that you can still pick up that pipe smoke when you went down there. And you could pick up her perfume in the house and stuff. So those are also examples of residual hauntings. So definitely don't wear any really strong perfumes or colognes or heavily scented lotions and things like that, because people are going to pick those things up and think that it's evidence, when in reality it's you or one of your teammates that are, covered in a scent. So keep that in mind. Try to keep the scents neutral, and you'll be good to go with that. The next thing I want to touch on is patience. Ghost hunting, I like to say, is much like fishing. You can go out and you can have a day where you can catch a ton of fish, or you can have a day where you don't catch no fish. And it's the same thing with paranormal investigations. But there's been times where we've gone to a location and we've gotten nothing. It's just dead silent the whole night and nothing goes on. And you think to yourself, wow, is this place even really haunted? Because just nothing has happened. And then you go there another night, and it seems like you can't even change a camera battery or anything without something crazy happening. It's just constant, nonstop. Like, something's shaking, something's rattling, something's banging. Like, you're getting all kinds of crazy things, and it's like, I can't even capture it all. It's so much. And that happens. That's just the way it goes. Sometimes it's because, spirits are drawn towards certain types of people. Maybe it's something about your personality that they really like, or maybe they really don't like. And it's just the way it goes. So be patient, and if you're not successful the first time, that's okay. You can always try again. But the most important thing about all of this is to have fun. Make sure you're having fun. Make sure you're with people who make it fun. I actually do most of these investigations with my mother, because she enjoys this as much as I do. She's the one that got me hooked, when I was little, watching paranormal investigation shows on TV and stuff like that. So go with people that make it fun and have fun, because it's supposed to be fun. You can get a group of your friends, you can get a group of your family. It doesn't matter who it is. As long as you get along well and you're having a good time, that's what really matters. So with all that said, we look forward to seeing you in these future videos, where we're going to go over some of the tips and tricks, more about the gear and different techniques and stuff. And until then, have fun, be safe, and I hope that you get out there and you get some investigations done.